All right, so we want to talk about scientific notation here. So you should have just watched a video on how to multiply and divide in scientific notation by hand. But for the most part, we're actually going to be using a calculator in order to do this. So the calculator we use most frequently, the scientific calculator, is Desmos. So I'm going to show you how to plug this into Desmos to get your answer. So in Desmos, we want to plug in this first problem here, problem number 1. So we're just going to type 3.4, all right, times 10, and then we're going to use this button, a to the b. That's going to allow us to type in our own exponent, and the exponent is 5. Then we're going to be multiplying that by 1.2 times 10 raised to the 4th power. All right, and it's gonna give you an answer right over here. So 4.08 times 10 to the 9th. Okay, and that's our answer there. So we can keep plugging this in. I'm gonna go ahead and do number 4 so we can deal with negative exponents as well. So we have 8.2 times 10, and you can also, to get an exponent, use the caret button. So if you hit Shift 6, that'll give you an exponent, so -4. Just make sure you move out of being in the exponent before you hit multiplication again. So 8.2 times 10 to the -4th times 9.2 times 10 to the -6th, and we get 7.544 times 10 to the -9th. All right. So we can go about that pattern and use it in order to calculate different answers to scientific notation multiplication problems. All right, so we'll just go ahead and put this answer right in there. Okay, so you can do that for the other two as well if you'd like. If you do, you would go ahead and get 6.975 times 10 to the 10th. So that you can do that. So if you wanted to pause the video to check out this other one, you should end up with 3.922 times 10 to the 13th. So we're just using Desmos here in order to help us out a little bit with this. So when we're dividing, we do need to be a little bit careful about our parentheses or making sure that we're using a fraction. So when I enter this, I can either enter it just like it looks on the paper. So with using parentheses, 6.6 times 10 to the 9th. And then end my parentheses and use divided by, not quite there. Let's delete back here. So we have to arrow out. There we go. Now we can hit divided by, and you'll note that it gives you a fraction, which is quite useful for us. So we want 1.2 times 10 to the 4th power. Go ahead, get out of the exponent and close your parentheses. Okay, now this gives you an answer in standard form, right? So this gives you 550,000, and we need to convert this into scientific notation. So what we want is the decimal point to be right here in between the two 5s. All right, so we want this to be 5.5. Excuse me. 5.5 times 10 raised to the, and then we want to count backwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So raised to the 5th power in order to get that answer. So sometimes it won't convert it for you if Desmos thinks it's a reasonable answer, but if it thinks it's large enough to warrant being in scientific notation, it'll put it in there for you. All right, so let's try one more here. Let's take a look at number 8 in this one. So another thing you can do is Desmos does have a fraction operator over here, so you can just click that, and then we can type the top number. So then what would be the numerator? 3.2 times 10 to the negative fourth. And then click down into the denominator and type 9.2 times 10 to the negative 12th. All right. And again, Desmos this time gives us a value that is not a scientific number. So we do need to go ahead and fix that. And I just realized, I think I had a typo here, but we'll go ahead and roll with this for now. So we just want to go ahead and convert that into scientific notation. So even if it has a lot of decimals, we can still convert it. So this would be 3.47826087, and then we'll have times 10, and then we want to count how many places we need to move the decimals. So here's the decimal, we need to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the left. So we'd be times 10 to the 7th. Okay, let's do one more because that one turned out a bit on the funny side. So let's take a look at doing number 7. So again, that has a negative in it, which is always a little bit more interesting. So we'd have 2.6 times 10 to the 14th divided by 5.2 times 10 to the negative 5. And you can see here it did give us a nice answer in scientific notation, which is 5 times 10 to the 18th. So that's how you're going to go about doing scientific notation in the calculator for this objective. We're just going to strictly do it in the calculator.